Hi everyone, this is Hillary Ellers coming to you from Lightworks Studio. And today we are finishing up our lessons on reincarnation. And I'm always suggesting this to you. If you are coming on board to check out these lessons, please start at the beginning of the series and go through them sequentially. They will possibly be confusing unless you do that. So this is lesson number 24. When I think of reincarnation, I feel like it's one of the most important concepts, metaphysically speaking. I feel like the concept of reincarnation has helped me understand life in a way that I never could have before I embraced it. It's very confusing, I feel, when we look around and things don't seem fair. It's very confusing when we see bad things happening to good people or people we consider good. It's very hard to understand when children or animals suffer. And yet, the theory and the concept of reincarnation helps us understand that everything has a meaning and a purpose, and all events and circumstances are happening to help the individual balance and grow. It relieved me of a great deal of pain, and I've said that earlier in our lessons. It relieved me of a great deal of pain when I began to embrace the concept of reincarnation. And so I often am asked by people who want a reading from me. I'm often asked to tune into one of their loved ones on the other side of life, someone who's passed over. And whenever I travel on the inner planes and in consciousness, I often experience the inner levels being very similar to the earth, and then as you move up in consciousness to higher and higher frequencies, the different levels or dimensions seem less and less like the earth. But some of the lower frequencies that are close to the physical in vibration are really pretty hard to tell the difference in those and the actual physical world. In fact, a lot of people who pass over do not realize that they have died. And I think part of that is because when they look around, things don't seem so out of the ordinary. When you pass over, you will find yourself in a body, and it looks like and it will feel a lot like your physical body. So there are people working on the other side of life, groups in fact of people who are helping those who have died to make an adjustment to their new lives in the higher dimensions. And there are those working to help people realize that they have passed over, and to make connections in their new world. Generally, there's a period of time in which there's a sense of a need for rest and just adjustment to being on the other side. Often when people, again, ask me to tune into their loved ones or their friends who've died, I frequently feel them in this state of relaxation and adjustment. And it varies from person to person in terms of how long that takes for that adjustment to be made. But it's not at all unusual for me to tune into people who have died and they are in a kind of restful place, almost like, not exactly like being in a hospital, but they seem to be in a place of being restored. So much of the time, our physical death takes a great deal out of us. And you know, it's interesting because I believe it takes a certain amount of energy to even be able to die. And a lot of times people have trouble dying because they have to build up their energy to get out of their bodies. And when I see people who have been ill for a long time or who have suffered a great deal through their death experience, they in particular really need healing when they move into the other side of life. At some point, once that adjustment to the new life is made, people begin to go about their activities and form habits and patterns just as we do in the physical world. We have relationships, we pursue things that we learn or develop more within ourselves. I often find that people are involved in things that are similar to what they were interested in when they were alive. And it's very amazing at times when I'm doing readings for people, and they'll give me feedback about the information coming through, and often the information just really surprises me in terms of how on target it is or how accurate it may be. I'm, after 50 some odd years of doing this work, I'm still getting used to how accurate intuition can be. And I recently was working with a woman in a very sad situation. She was wanting me to tune into her daughter, and her daughter had taken her own life, and she was 15 at the time when she died. And understandably, the woman was having a very hard time adjusting to the loss of her daughter. And she wanted to know how her daughter was and what was happening and what she was doing. And I felt very strongly that the daughter was involved in studying clothing design, like fashion design. And so I said, you know, she seems to be interested in fashion design, and I get the feeling she's studying that, or, you know, still learning about it or something. And the woman said, oh my gosh, that was her main interest. And the mother had taken the daughter to some kind of conference in New York, and they had done a lot together around design and fashion. And it really took me back, you know, a little when that information came through, and I thought, wow, because it just seems so specific. And I think it must have been very um, helpful to the mother for her to know her daughter was okay, because such specific information was coming through that the mother could identify with, that I think that it helped the mother not worry about her daughter, even though it didn't take away her missing her daughter. I have a friend who died recently, and he didn't believe in life after death. And he and I would talk about it sometimes, and I'd laugh and say, oh boy, do you have some surprises coming. And I have thought so much. I would just really have loved to have seen him when he realized after he died that he wasn't really dead and that he was still conscious and life went on. I know he had to have thought about the conversations we had, and I believe he was genuinely really surprised. Um, so life goes on. The miracle of consciousness never ends, never stops. And at some point in our afterlife, we begin to be ready to come back into a new life, into a new body. And we start the preparation for reincarnating. When that time comes, a lot happens in the planning of the new life. And we look at our last lifetime, and we look at the goals we set for that last life. We look at how far we were able to develop those goals, how successful were we in our goals. We look at all the circumstances of our last life, and we look at all the relationships. And with the help of our higher selves and the help of our inner teachers, we begin to formulate a plan that will help us move forward from where we are. And one of the things we do is that we will choose the points that we've been working on in terms of our growth and development as a human. And we will look at the weak points. And we will, in particular, bring in experiences, circumstances that will help us address those weak points, that will give us a chance to work on our weak areas of consciousness. I often think of doing that, you know, creating a way to work on the weakest part of yourself as creating a kind of handle, like the handle on a skillet, so that you can grab the skillet and move it. You can do something with it, with the handle. So we create handles, so to speak, in our lives that will give us access to our issues. And probably most people think, God, that's the last thing I want, is to have to create problems or challenges. And yet it is only through being able to relive certain issues that we have the opportunity to build and grow our spiritual muscles. And it's very much like building physical muscle. If you lift weights, you're going to build muscle, and you're going to build greater strength. in this way, the issues of our lives are the weights we would be lifting to build muscle. The issues in our lives are the weights we bring in to build spiritual muscle. And it's easy to look at a person, or even to look at yourself, and to think, I'm so untogether. You know, I have so many problems, and or this person over here is so untogether. Their life is just a mess, and they're a mess. When actually, people who draw in a lot of challenge are people who may be wanting to grow more than others. And rather than that being a sign of being untogether, it's, I feel, more a sign of a person who is dedicated to their own growth and determined to grow. When we are building the plan for our new life, we also look at our strengths, and we bring in certain strengths that will in particular help us with the issues that we're creating in our lives, the issues we are planning to bring in. We look at our strengths that will help us in particular with those issues. And so we also plan certain strengths that we're going to bring in. We talked about the fact that at times we pick up pieces of other people's patterns that we may be able to help with, or we may be able to move some blocked energy that someone may have left in the collective. So that also becomes part of our ingredient list for our recipe for the new life. You know, from our own spiritual inventory, we really prepare within ourselves to find a family. Once we have the pattern set of, or our agendas outlined, then we begin to look for a family to come in through. And there are several things in choosing a family that come into play. First of all, we just look at the DNA pattern and what kind of qualities from your inheritance and your bloodline do you want. And for instance, in my family, everyone, I feel, everyone is very, very intuitive and sensitive, and we're all a little crazy, you know. I think people who are really highly intuitive are often have a harder time staying in balance and maintaining equilibrium. But I feel I chose my family in part because from my DNA, I inherited a very strong quality of intuition. And so the individual getting ready to incarnate looks at the DNA pattern. What kinds of talents, what kinds of abilities do you need to fulfill your pattern? Also, again, within what you inherit through your DNA, there may be problems you inherit, and you look at that too. What problems will serve you in terms of helping you touch issues you want to work on? So sometimes people bring in not just certain qualities of consciousness, people may bring in physical problems that they inherit through DNA to help them address and work on issues. Then, in terms of choosing a family, so we go beyond the DNA. That is an important element in our choice of family. And we go beyond the DNA and we start looking at circumstance. What kind of energy will we encounter in a particular family? Will the family be supportive of us? What type of programming will we receive from a given family? What kind of opportunities? Some people come through families that will educate them, and they may get a very, very good education, and maybe they need that to do a particular work that is part of their plan or pattern. Sometimes people come into very abusive families, and they do that also to have a certain kind of opportunity to work with that energy and those problems of abuse. Whatever we are looking for, we search until we find it. And when we have chosen the family that and the DNA that will be best for us, we incarnate. And it's such a miracle. I mean, there's so many miracles in life, everyday miracles that happen, and we are so accustomed to this is the way it is. We just sort of step over the miracles and don't quite realize how miraculous many, many things are. And the whole process of planning a lifetime, choosing a family, choosing even the right time culturally to come in, all of that put together is an enormous miracle that can happen. And we just simply usually take being alive, being in our families, having life experience as just ordinary, just normal. This is the way it is. But I'd like you to open your eyes more to begin to perceive how miraculous it is. And to know that your inner teachers and your greater self are all helping you even to have the quote-unquote appointments with destiny that you need to have in order to have the right experiences for growth. There is, you know, so many things that happen in timing that you walk down the street and bump into an old friend that you haven't seen for many years. And if you had been 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes later, that wouldn't have happened. You would have missed that person. So these sorts of connection in which timing is so perfect, I call them appointments with destiny. And that within itself is a miracle. That you're somehow guided, okay, go out the door right now. Walk down the street right this moment. My feeling is that when we really observe life and all of its miraculousness, It is not just amazing, it's awe-inspiring. And one of the things I'd like you to get in terms of the teaching that I'm doing and the studying you're doing, I'd like to help you get just how immense you are, how multi-layered you are, how big your energy is, how big your consciousness is, how much you are. And we are all so much more than we realize. I think only when we really come into the stages of enlightenment do we really start to perceive our own largeness. And it's so much and so far beyond our logic or even our general habits of thinking, the whole immenseness of our being. And I want you to begin to back up a little bit and slow down a lot so that you can begin to feel that immensity that is you, and to feel how conscious you are and what you can do with your consciousness, because you can travel out in any direction. You can go toward the future, toward the past. You can go to any dimension. You can go to a mental dimension, a spiritual dimension. You can touch the skirt. You know, there's a saying that Mother Teresa, that her garment, her skirt, the bottom of her skirt, cleaned the energy that she walked through. And you have many, many abilities that you're growing to realize, and that you're growing to know how to use, how to activate. I feel that we are all healers. So when we end our work now about reincarnation, I want you to realize that this very moment you are opening up more to integrate all of your lifetimes, that at this very moment you have an ability to bring all your lifetimes together and to use and to be in touch with all the many parts of yourself. So good luck in that journey, and I hope it is rich and deep and wonderful for you. Thank you. Hi. Let's do a short guided meditation. So simply allow yourself to begin to be in your body. Perhaps this is the first time today that you have taken time to really pay attention to your body. And just check it out. How does your body feel? Any place that is tight, any place that hurts, know that that is a place in your body in which the energy is blocked, or some in some way out of balance. And as you meditate, the energies will flow. As you step into your body, pay attention now to your breath and just feel yourself breathing. Feel how good it feels to breathe. Allow your breathing to be very deep. Each inner breath brings a soothing wave of relaxation through your entire body. Feel your shoulders letting down, all your muscles lengthening. Every inner breath brings a soothing wave of relaxation through your entire body. As you relax deeply, know that you can reach and touch energies that are normally beyond your connection. Simply observe and allow yourself to observe the largeness of your own energy pattern. Allow yourself to feel how ancient you are. In this ancient quality, in this immense largeness of being, simply find yourself anchoring more strongly in who you are. And feel the roots of your consciousness anchoring even more deeply into who you are. And in this moment, allow yourself to feel the contentment of connection with yourself. Feel the security of this deep connection. And now, holding this sense of deep connection, holding this sense of largeness, of the eternal quality, the ancient aspect of who you are. Holding this, allow yourself gradually to return. Gradually now begin to return. And return with a new sense of self, with a deeper sense of self. Allow yourself to return and find yourself safely anchored in your physical body. Bring all that you have felt and experienced with you. When you're back, you can begin to move and stretch and open your eyes. Welcome back.